then I got sick. I got ulcerative colitis, just diagnosed with an incurable terminal autoimmune disease. And that really took me on a massive roller coaster. I went from like 230 pounds down to 168 pounds. So everything I was known for, right? Cover the magazines, my physique, exercise, fitness, like it was literally stripped away from me.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and turn them into cash-based multimillionaire entrepreneurs. Warning, if you're a doctor who listens to this podcast regularly, you will make millions of dollars. Do not listen to this podcast unless you want to be a successful clinic owner who helps thousands of patients achieve their health goals and adds more money than you can imagine to your bank account. You've been warned.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we give you the exact tactics, strategies, and mindsets you need to fulfill your destiny by helping thousands of people in your community and dominating your market and your life. I'm one of your hosts, Rory Morgan, and I'm here with Dr. Chris Zaino today. How's it going, Dr. Chris?
What's going on, Rory? Good to see you, and thanks for everybody who's watching. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So you've been around a while. I remember seeing you and thinking, oh, this is one of the famous guys in the natural health space. And then a couple years ago, I got to meet you. So, like, how'd you get here? What's your story?
I thought I'd just be a personal trainer, and that kind of was my thing. When you're younger, you think, oh, I could do this forever. So I graduated from UCF, had my degree in exercise phys, and because I worked for Universal Studios. So I worked with, they had Xena Warrior Princess and Hercules. They would do, we filmed in like New Zealand, right? And then B-roll at Universal Studios. So, because I won Mr. America and stuff like that, I trained the actors and actresses, right? So they all looked good, half naked. And that was cool. I think that was awesome. So I was probably like 21, 22, cover magazines, good life. And that's so funny. It's like, oh, that's what I'll do forever. And then I got sick. I got ulcerative colitis, just diagnosed with an incurable terminal autoimmune disease. And that really took me on a massive roller coaster. I went from like 230 pounds down to 168 pounds. So everything I was known for, right? Cover the magazines, my physique, exercise, fitness, like it was literally stripped away from me. And then back then, we're looking at 98, 99. When you did a magazine cover, it was print, so it wouldn't come out for like 8 months to a year later after they did the shoot. Now it's like digital, it's right away. So I remember like, I was just like withered away, just rotting away. And I went to the store, and then I was on the cover of a magazine. I just felt so ashamed. I felt like really embarrassed and ashamed because I was so mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at everything because, I didn't eat bad. I didn't drink. I did my cardio, did my exercise. Like I wasn't lining up at Sonic every morning for breakfast. So I was really, really pissed off. I was angry. Like, why is this happening to me? And that took me on a sick journey to where I was like a week away from getting my colon removed. And then my anatomy teacher from my sophomore year in high school, my mom sent out a prayer email. My mom is 88 years old, prayer warrior. Like there was a hurricane in Florida not too long ago, and she literally is the one who stands out on her porch and commands the storm to stop.
Right.
And her lights didn't go out. She's like, I told you, I commanded the storm to stop.
Yeah.
And so she read out an email, pray for Chris. My anatomy teacher, responded back, hey, when Chris comes to town, because I was going to go visit my mom in Sarasota before the surgery, he's like, hey, listen, I want to see him. And so I didn't think nothing. I saw my mom, and then he came. He came to my mom's house. He's like, listen, you need to go see my doctor. He's a corrective care chiropractor. It'll change your life. And, back then I was like, hey, how people try to help you. And it's like, here, try this noni juice or try this multi-level thing. I'm like, dude, I'm not into witchcraft. That's great. I appreciate you trying to help me, but I just came from $1 billion facility. I got the best doctors. Nothing's working. They got to take out my colon. I tried everything. And he's like, well, no, you didn't try everything, because if you tried everything, you would have had your result. And like, Rory, it was like, sometimes you hear something in a movie or someone says something and it like interrupts your story. Like, oh my God, he's right. Like, I didn't try everything. It just kind of gave me a little bit of clarity, enough to say, okay, I'll give this guy a try. So I went there, took x-rays of my spine, and he just told me the simple message of like how the body heals, chiropractic, the nervous system. And when I went to see my x-rays, it was, they were horrible, but I didn't feel the pain. But you got to understand that these men that were in my life along this journey, they were very bold and convicted. I'll tell you why. They didn't water it down, because if they watered it down, I wouldn't be here. So I see my x-rays, and I'm like, this is great and all, but I'm going to go get surgery in a week. And I go, so when am I going to get better? And I see a lot of doctors today, they kind of like put a date on it. Well, they're very nice about it. He's like, listen, as long as you got that problem, your body's not in the environment to heal. And he points at me. He goes, but when you choose to correct that problem that's causing this problem in your life, when you choose to correct that, then your body will be in the environment to heal. And he's like, but the day and the hour, he's like, that's not up to me. He's like, and he goes, it's between you, your body, and God. He's like, but I'll tell you, you will get better as long as you don't quit. And it took someone, a man, to like take ownership, or a female, just to like tell me, like, listen, here's the don't sugarcoat it. And a week go by, 2 weeks goes by, I'm starting the treatments, and just everything is telling me not to do it. I'm bleeding, all this other stuff, but I stuck with it because I realized, like, I don't want to do the surgery because there was that small chance I'd even survive. And then in 7 months, my body healed itself from this incurable terminal disease. And that's when I said, I'm going to go to school to become a chiropractor. So it wasn't even on my list, Roy, to do this. But I was like, I got a personal story. Like, I could do this. No one could call bullshit on my story. Like, I have an experience with it. And so that gave me the kind of the passion and the purpose to go back to school, do everything. And at 29, we opened practice here in the Woodlands, Texas. And here it is, 20 years later. It'll be 20 years in October.
Okay. So I didn't realize you were training like Hollywood, like stuntmen and like actors and that kind of thing.
I was the guy behind the physiques on those shows that you used to see, right? You had Zaino Warrior Princess, Hercules, all those.
So you could have been you were on the path to be who's the guy who did P90X? Like that could have been you.
Yeah, I could have been a Tony Horton, right?
Yeah, Tony Horton, that's right. That's what it would have been.
Or who's the guy with the ponytail? I would have taken him too. Tony Little.
Very cool. All right, so so you open up a chiropractic practice and that becomes, to my understanding, like one of, if not the busiest clinics in the world.
It didn't start that way. Something shifted to me that caused that. But the first 2.5, 3 years was just what school tells you, right? I'm going to wear the coat. I'm going to be super, educated and speak big words. I'm going to only take people's insurance because that's what people want. So that's what I did. And, insurance is pretty decent here. So we did okay. But, I was kind of in a shell. And then, something happened to me. I was asked to speak at a Rotary Club here in the Woodlands. And so I had done a couple talks, but Rory, they were very like orator talks, like not Toastmasters, but like behind the podium and then a PowerPoint. And then I had a book that said research, but it just had my talk in it. I would read it. Like, so it was very like golf claps, no appointments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was the summer. It was like this time around, it was so damn hot. And it was like 3 days before, someone was like, hey, the speaker backed out. One of my patients, like, I'd love to have you speak and kind of tell your story. Because I would tell my story. And I'm like, okay. And then so I went there and I was so nervous because you have like big oil guys and neurosurgeons and big lawyers, old money, And I kind of had the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't belong here, And it was all in my head and I didn't bring any of my stuff. So all my crutches, I left. I didn't have it. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to flake. And it hit me that like no one could call bullshit on my story. Like my story is my story and no one could tell my story better than me. So I'm like, I'm just going to tell my story. And I went in there because I didn't have to memorize it. It was me. And I just told my experience and it was very transparent. It's very like contrasting. It wasn't perfect. And that was the first time I ever got a standing ovation. And the first time people would come up and be like, here's $40. If I give you this now, can I at least reserve an appointment so it doesn't get filled up? And I was like, I didn't know you could like take money before an appointment because back then, come in for appointment, pay when you're there. So everything shifted. I'm like, wait a second. And that kind of birthed the whole thing of like, if I just tell my story, and then within my story, I educate people on what I do, then they build trust with me. And at the end of that talk, they were like, this is the guy I want to at least see to examine my health and that of my family. And
Yeah.
Rory, we grew, it was during 2008 too, I guess, when there was that recession. I didn't have TV, so I didn't participate. We grew 1,900 visits a week in like 18 months. So we hit like 2,800 a week within 18 months, and it just exploded because I just started doing the one talk and telling my story. And the more I did my story, and the more I took myself to that place and went on this journey of not being perfect, or hey, I was this Mr. America, and then I was stripped to nothing, and this whole thing. It gave people hope. It gave people, hey, listen, I'll go in, I'll get my family checked. So people didn't come in for pain. They came in to get their spine and nervous system checked. And I didn't mention the word chiropractor in it. I didn't mention the word anything. I just told the principles of life. And the reason why I did that is because if I say chiropractor and there's 100 people in the room, there's 100 different perceptions of what that is. And so I was like, I wanted to stay on a neutral territory where I could at least educate them on life principles, like your brain controls everything. Yes, very Dr. Seuss. And at the end of it, people like, hey, I never heard this before, even though they all knew it. And we just absolutely exploded.
Okay. When you say it's very Dr. Seuss, is that like, oh, the places you'll go? Is that what you're referring to?
No, it's like,
Like,
here's your brain. Your brain controls your body. If I cut
okay.
off your head, what happens? You die. Like, I try to simplify it
Super
so much
basic.
to
Yeah.
where it was like, duh. And it
Yeah.
was very, they answered all the questions. So I never really moved forward until they were all on the same page with me, and we moved forward. And if health is function, what controls function in your brain? And if that's health, then what is there we need to look to and take care of? My nervous system. Who needs to do that? Everybody. When do you want to do that? Now, even better, yesterday. And then I would just close. So it wasn't, I didn't say it belittling like that, but I made sure it was as black and white as possible, as simple as possible, where even an agnostic, medical focused person could say, okay, I agree with that. I might not agree with your method, but at least we could agree on a couple things. And so there was no hate. There was just understanding.
Yeah. What were the biggest challenges that you were facing in practice at that time, like prior to the growth?
Oh, I mean, just going on with I wasn't able to truly take care of people the way I wanted to. It was all about if insurance would take care of it or not. And then during that time, Rory, the same time, a friend of mine in Dallas got audited hard. And it was like 8 of us, 8 chiropractors in his office in Dallas, Texas at 3 a.m. typing up notes just so he was getting investigated. And I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I don't want this. And so I kind of took my chips off the table at that point. And what's very important is I had a coach. People got to realize, understand. I don't know why in people's minds they think coaching is so important. The best have coaches. Tiger Woods has a coach. Michael Jordan had a coach. They're able to see blind spots. So I remember telling my coach, I want to go cash. How do I go cash? It was a Tuesday. And he told me, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. And I did it because I didn't see it. I was in it. Like, like if you're in the bottle, you can't read the label. So it's like every year of my life, all that stuff, I always had good coaches. I got any area of my life I wasn't really great in, it's because I try to do it on my own or I try to coach myself. And usually I miss the big blind spot. So to have someone who had a cash practice say, hey, okay, this is how you're going to do it. Bop, bop, bop. And then I just had to trust it, even though I didn't understand it. And then just go like, the first thing he told me to do is like, do not lower your prices. I'm like, how'd you know I was going to lower the price? He's like, because you're scared, because now you got to bring enough value for people to pay out of pocket. So instead of lowering your price, I want you to raise your price 25%. I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, yeah, because that forces you to show up in your A game. You can't play small. And Rory, it sucked, but it was the best thing ever because it forced me to build value and to study and to learn the skills to bring value. Otherwise, it's like, oh, your insurance pays for this. We'll just do that. And that was one thing I realized looking back that if I didn't have a coach to tell me that, I would have done the counter opposite.
Yep. So when you mentioned fear, right? Fear of raising the prices, fear of going into that Rotary Club event, right?
Yeah.
Like I was just having a talk with my son the other day about like the moment of truth, right?
Mhm.
You like if you're playing a sport, if you're you're doing your first couple sales calls, because or you have the first couple patients in front of you and you're ready to close them, and this person you can kind of tell they're a fit, they're ready to buy, raising your prices, whatever it is. It's like there's this split second, right? Like if
Mhm.
there's a ground ball coming at you in baseball, and it's like there's this split second where you can charge that ground ball, or you can just like, oh, it's coming fast, and get afraid, right? And there's like
Mhm.
this moment of truth that is like it's this ever present kind of test of like, what are you actually made of, right?
Mhm.
So let's dig into that. Like,
Yeah.
why do some people hold back? Why does that moment of truth hit, and that fear feels more real to them
Mhm.
than like the opportunity in front of them, or what they could be,
Mhm.
or listening to I think you could say what their true self, that voice of
Mhm.
God in them, is like, go for it, right? But then the little bad angel on the other shoulder is like, no, 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 be afraid,
Yeah.
right? Like what's going on there?
I think we admire everybody. Think of just like right now, Roy, like think of a athlete that you really admired growing up and you love their confidence, right?
Yeah,
Michael Jordan's like last second, throw me the ball.
yeah,
So, okay, but what people don't realize, confidence has layers. You don't become confident. You just don't wake up confident. We don't realize that there's roads to get to, and you know what it starts with? That split second, Rory. Do I charge that ground ball or not? It's called courage. And
yeah,
the great thing about courage is this: you're scared. Courage, actually, a prerequisite to courage is that you're scared. You
yeah,
got to be scared to have courage because that means I'm going to go for it even though I'm scared. And
yeah,
Rory, if you don't pass through the courage, see, so you have the courage, so you go for it. And we talked about it. We either like got it or we learned, right? And then after courage comes clarity, right? Okay,
yeah,
okay, like I'm clear. I know what I have to do. Okay, I got to go at this. So when I walk in courage, then I get a little bit more clarity. Then when I have clarity, then there comes certainty. Like this, I used to think, Roy, like I was lucky in practice. Then there was a time where like this isn't luck. So I got and then after clarity becomes certainty, and when I'm certain, now I'm confident.
right,
Like, hey, put me in a room in front of 100 people. Let's go. But it took that a hero isn't confident. A hero has courage. That means they're nervous just like you, but the hero is the one who steps in and puts the action behind it when no one else is willing to go. There was a
yeah,
story about Wesley something. He was Wesley Autry, kind of a guy who worked the construction ship really late at night in New York. And it was like the number one train. He's coming home. He would work all night, then take his girls to school, two girls. And then a kid, he's waiting for a train, a kid, now just think of a subway. People are waiting for the train in New York. It's packed. And a kid, a 22-year-old kid, had a seizure and he fell on the train tracks. And just think, everybody sees this and no one did anything. Here comes the train. No one did anything. And he's holding his two girls, right? So he's like, am I going to save this kid? I got my two kids here. He let go of his two girls. He jumped on the tracks, covered the kid. The train goes over him enough to like cut the back of his like cap. And he saved this kid. And people try to praise him, give him 15 minutes of fame. He's like, I was just doing what's the right thing of what someone should have done. That's all. Like, he's like, I wasn't trying to be here. I just did the right thing. Where all
yeah,
these other people, dressed, suits, successful, they thought maybe I should do something. They didn't. And this guy, the construction guy, works the late shift, taking his exhausted. He's the one who's like, I got to do something. So see, the courage is the toughest step, boy. It means I'm scared, but I got to go for it anyway. And it's something where like you're gonna feel scared. You're gonna jump into the unknown. You're not. It's not gonna feel terrific. But man, if you do the courage, then the clarity and the certainty and the confidence comes, and then then you have that inner confidence and drive to be like, okay, just like King David, I've been through this, I've been through this, I've been through this. Like, let's go. But it all starts with courage.
100%. And it kind of goes back to what your chiropractor told you, which was something along the lines of like, as long as you don't quit, you will get
Mm,
better, right? It's like finally comes down to like the actions that you take. Because I think, yeah, what you're, I don't, I probably heard it from someone else at some point, but I've said, it's like, it's clarity leads to certainty, certainty leads to confidence, confidence leads to action, right?
Hmm.
But it's not linear, it's a
Mm-mm.
circle because the action
Mm.
part is actually what then gives you clarity,
Yeah.
right? So you have to take some sort of action to get clarity, right? I talk to so many people where it's like there's such a lack of clarity, and they can kind of express their problems, right? Like just doing what I do, speaking with small business owners, clinic owners, doctors, nurses all day long. It's like they can like this isn't working, that isn't working, my employees this, my marketing that, the my patients, right? And they're kind of like beating around the bush at whatever, whatever feels like the problem, right?
Hmm.
But there's such a lack of clarity, right? And when you just ask them like, well, what action have you taken in the last 30 days to address that? Right? And the answer is usually like a long period of silence and um like, maybe some sort of like, oh, well, I hired a new marketer or something like that. Right? It's like, well, like what specific action is the new marketer taking that is different, right? And so the end result is like they personally aren't doing anything that actually leads to the next step, which is clarity,
And you know
right?
what, Rory? When you just said that, I thought about it because I really talk to men, very successful men, and people about sedation.
Yeah.
We sedate a lot. So procrastination is sedation, alcohol, drugs, pills, pornography, social media. Being a blaming others is a form of sedation
Yeah.
because you're taking the responsibility. You're not facing the thing. You're
Yeah.
blaming it, and it's a form of sedation. And then the greatest way to counteract sedation is action, right? Because I'm trying to run away from something. I'm trying to sedate because and a lot of men I talk to, sedation's great until it's not great anymore. Like you're high and you still have your problem. Like that's bad. So it's like
Hmm.
this, at the end of the day, you're just going to have to take not to face it because we could sit there and move papers around and files around on a computer and be busy and not successful. But it's like, what is the action step I need to take? You're right, Rory, to get clarity. So let me try this, like Edison. Let me try this to find out the way not to do it. Or let me try
Yeah.
this to find out the way not to do it. Oh, okay, this works. So the thing is, but for me, if I don't take action, you just sit there, um, like move. I feel like I'm just moving papers around,
Yeah.
being busy, not successful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you mentioned it's like sedated. Maybe they're drinking every night, right? Or it's just like it's porn, or it's like whatever. It's like, okay, why don't you just come up with something, anything? Like I'm going to, when I usually sit down on my computer and I look at porn, that exact time every day, I'm going to go for a walk instead,
Hmm.
right? Like, like, but doing that, like literally just saying, I'm going to take an action
Yeah.
like that you're actually going to learn something by taking that action, right? Which is going to give you more clarity, right? It's not that going for a walk is the cure to that,
Yeah.
right? But it's like you're taking an action and you're going to figure something out, right? Going on a walk gives you so much clarity when you're just, you're
Hmm.
by yourself, you've got your thoughts, like, your body's active, right? I know this isn't like something scientific I figured out, but I know just like I look back at my life, anytime I was in a rut, anytime I've had a bad day, right? And people would probably say this is maybe unhealthy. Like, I'd have a tendency to get pissed off at myself. Like, what the fuck are you doing, you lazy piece of shit? And that would directly lead to, um, like what I would do, I just start doing push-ups. I
Hmm.
remember one time, like I'd never been on a run longer than 3 miles. I just went for a 25-mile run and I almost died. Like I didn't bring water. I was just like pissed at myself. Right. But it was like a really, really extreme action. Like, okay, I'm doing 1,000 burpees just because it was like, I need to do something that gets me out of this negative feeling. right?
You nailed it. Like
And
that is 100% science because if you look at the vibration scale, the emotion of apathy and indifference, it's actually below depression. And after apathy and indifference, like there's death, right? So you got death, apathy, indifference, depression, and then anger is the place where you gain a little bit of control, like
yeah,
you're pissed off. Tim Grover talked about the dark side. You get here's at least, like I always push someone from depression into anger because you ever like sometimes you try to get them angry and they're just like a
yeah,
bully. After a bully hits a kid 4 times, you just see him like stop fighting
yes,
and they go right into apathy. But it's like if you get someone pissed, now they have a little bit of power and you just transmute that into some energy. So it goes from like anger into confusion and then into hope. So that's why
mm-hmm,
you're pissed off to yourself, you're running, you're confused, and then like something sips in. Well, maybe I could do this, and then you just start going all the way up the scale again. But 100% now, yeah, it's not the healthiest long term, but you got to do like nothing. See, the sedation is because you're in apathy and indifference, and that is nothing happens. You don't even get good ideas there, but at least when you do the run and you move, you'll get an idea and
yeah,
or you'll get action that takes like you're absolutely right. As you move, it opens up like that, like an antenna to get some type of actionable thing that you're going to do. But you're right, anger is the first stage that gets you a little bit of power to actually do something.
yeah,
And no, you hit it. So what you said was 100% psychology 101. But people don't want to talk
yeah,
about it because you realize like, and you're right, Roy, it's not the pill, it's not the OnlyFans girl, it's not the drink that's the problem. It's it's what I'm trying to escape from, like my act of escaping from something. Because like, let's say it was your birthday and I don't drink and I took a shot, but I don't need that shot to be social or to, it just like, it has no hold on me. It's not a crutch for me. So like when you realize what's behind the booze and the porn and stuff, it's usually a cry for help. It's an unresolved issue that has to be faced. And that's the real thing. And that, like Joseph Campbell used to say, the fear, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And
mm-hmm,
so, but a lot, it sounds counterintuitive to face it. Well, it's tough. I'm not making money. Okay, great. That sucks. So what skills do I got to learn? Oh, yeah. Well, it's like, what do we got to do? You know?
yeah. Yeah, so the thing you fear to enter, yeah, that's the like the King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table, right? It's like every knight entered the forest at the place that appeared darkest to him, right? Metaphorically, like that was the thing they were most scared of, right? Um, and that's where they're going to look for the Holy Grail is like it's gonna the Holy Grail, which I would say is metaphorical for
Yeah.
like something along the lines of like really truly knowing God and the voice of God in your
Mhm.
life, right? And like that's where you're gonna find your own relationship with God is when you face what you're most scared of.
Mhm.
Um, and so like you can tie that down to like really practical things just because this is a podcast for clinic owners, right? But like how many times do we hear sort of these stories where it's like people are afraid of learning sales because it's like there's just like a real fear of like they don't they, they just don't ever want to be thought of as having as like trying to persuade someone or
Yeah.
be able to have influence with the way that they speak, right? So it's like no, I'm just gonna stay in my comfort zone, which is just very doctory and use big words, and I just don't ever want to be like there's this fear around it, right? It's very
It's a story,
irrational.
right? Roy, that
Yeah.
is a big story. What is the, what? So I don't want to sound sad. So what's the story behind that story? Because, when there's two questions I want every practice owner to ask themselves, and it's deep questions. Number one is who am I? Who am I? You'll say, well, I'm a doctor, I'm a husband, I'm a, chiropractor, I'm a marketer. Well, you're just telling me all the stories you have about yourself. So really like, why don't it like, so there's a story. And the thing is the story is the things I made up about myself. It's just stories. And so if I feel I don't want to persuade people or sound too salesy, where did that story come from? And the cool thing is we have the ability to change the story. And until
Yeah.
you change the story, you're going to keep on backing up your story. Like you become your best attorney. defense
Yeah.
attorney for your story. Well, you see, Rory, I tried to like sell that lady and she said I was being salesy. So I told you it doesn't work for me. It's like, no, like you're just finding a way to reassure the old story that's keeping you in this pattern.
Yeah.
And that's a big, tough one where that's where good coaching comes in to be able to, this is your story. Let's change the identity of that story. Like, hey, listen, like when I'm good at sales and marketing, I can help people get to their goal and their solution. I'm helping them. Like me being that nice guy and having them do it their way, I actually hurt them because they didn't get the care they really needed because I was just trying to like I made the care plan according to what I thought they could afford. So I really
Yeah.
didn't give them the best care. So when you could like that's the way I see it. So it's
Yeah.
like when you could really change the story and be like, wow, I was actually hurting that person by not being bold and truly giving them the best care I can. And so, I was helping them move to a solution. And like, it's just changing your identity in the story.
Okay, so like all these things we're talking about, to me, it's some right, like the darkest, going into looking in the darkest part of the forest, right? What the stories you're telling yourself are, the actions you take, and what courage is, and like I sort of feel like it's beating around the bush of like the biggest question that we all ask ourselves, and this ties back to sort of medicating or sedating.
Hmm.
Like when you're younger, right? Maybe there tends to be kind of like two times in most men's lives, and I imagine it's pretty similar for women. I've never lived that experience, but it's kind of like this time period, you know, and getting out of college age, right? And it's like now I have to like do something, right? And there's this crisis period of like I have to figure out how I'm going to make money, how I'm going to provide, how I'm going to find a woman and have a family, and like I don't have any of the skills yet. Like I've just been in school doing what I've been told, right? And we kind of have this period of like I've got to now I really actually have to figure myself out. And then a lot of men have it in like the midlife period, right? Where it's like, oh dude, like the life I've been living, like I hate it. And I don't like it. And they're kind of like finally starting to come face to face and like having to be honest with themselves about like the life they've been living.
Hmm.
Right. But I think it gets to like the question underneath these two crisis periods, right? Which we tend to medicate away. We medicate it away by watching Fox News and CNN and getting all obsessed with the elections, and we medicate it away by we talked about porn and alcohol and drugs. But like the underlying question is like, why am I here?
Yeah.
What if you went in and like the thing that you're most afraid of, you found out why you're here,
Mm.
and you like you got that answer and you knew, right? Because to me I feel like that's what's that's what we're hiding for, that's what we're actually missing, right? Because like you have to kind of stare into the abyss if you're going to go to those dark places, and people don't want to stare into the abyss to figure out, why am I here, what is my purpose? Does that resonate? Do you have any
Oh,
thoughts
Roy,
about
remember I
that?
said I said there's two questions a practice owner has to ask themselves. And the first one he said is, who am I? And the second one, Rory, was why am I? So
Yeah.
why am I? And it's a loaded question. It is the question, why am I?
Yeah.
And so, and the first gut reaction people will say is, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's just it is just the defense mechanisms to like not face, because like what's going to be on the other side of that? And Roy, I think what happens is sometimes I don't think anybody has to go through a shitload of trials, but I think when you go through the trial, that question gets a little bit more clear. Like when I had my disease, I went through a couple trials and I actually kind of got redefined purpose in it all, because you know what it did, Rory, when I went through really tough times, all my ego and all the bullshit stuff disappears. And it's just you in a crisis mode. And it's like, all the things that mattered that I was living life for didn't matter anymore. It didn't matter about the money. Get me. I like only the real blessings of life is what counted. And then you had a lot more clarity of why am I, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes a very driven person. Like hitting the wall at 200 miles an hour to stop and like think. And you usually hear that. A guy's like, well, I almost overdosed. And then I found God. It's like, wow, like we had to take you all the way to the overdose.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
God was there the whole time. But I
Yeah.
think the ego and the drive and the subordinated values that we feel we need to carry and perform and do gets cluttered in the way and it keeps us busy. But then when that crisis hits or something happens, or like in health, a health terrorism, like an act of health terrorism, then all of a sudden, you know, wow, okay, then we have a little bit more clarity. There's that purpose comes up. And but I hate that people have to go through it, but at the same time, it becomes a blessing, you know?
100%, man. And like, it's like it's sort of like there's a saying, you can choose your hard, right? Like life's going to be hard in some way, but like you can actively choose it, right? So like, I've always kind of had the tendency like to just be pretty extreme with things, right? So like I mentioned just one day ran 25 miles, right? And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd maybe done a 3 or 4 mile run before, but like it was 90 degrees and I just started running and did the Forrest Gump, right? And then that led to me starting to do ultra marathons after that for quite a while. And I still stay in shape with running, but it's a big time commitment when you got 5 kids to be running 100 miles a week. So I'm not actively doing any races, but like it's like so many people be like, why are you doing that?
Mhm.
And it was like, well, because like there's no logical reason, but it's like because I know there's more. And I find out like I know there's more inside me and I find out more of what that is when I go run 100 miles. Right? Like there's voices speaking to me. There's conversations happening within me that are much deeper than I'm going to experience if I turn on the TV after work, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And um it's like if you're going to build a business, right? Like are you just trying to do enough to pay your bills? Or like are you doing it to serve people, right? And like all I can say is there's a tremendous amount of synergy like running a 100-mile race, running through the night, running for 30 hours straight. And let's be honest, there's a lot of walking in there. It's pretty much impossible to run it, but like not getting off your feet and just continuing to go, like um you it is actually very dark. Like it's not fun. Like you're not like at least for me, it's not an enjoyable experience, right? When you kind of talk about like you're going into the forest at the darkest place to you, like you I don't know, like yeah, you got to sleep for 20 hours straight after that, but then you wake up and it's like the rest of life gets easier, right? And that's where I'm
Mm.
trying to try it back to like you get to choose your hard in life, right? Because it's going to be really really hard when it's just like anytime the economy takes a little bit of a downturn, like you are worried that you're going to be able to pay the bills, right? Or your kid wants to play on some sports team but you can't afford it, or your wife's always angry at you because you can't pay the bills or because it's always a challenge, right? And like you can choose what do you that like that's going to be just as hard as it is to just like buckle down and say like hey, I'm going to dominate for the next 5 years in business. I'm going to become the best communicator. I'm going to become the best at making videos. And like making a commitment like that, that's going to be hard too. Right? You're going to have to stay late 5 nights a week and do it every single night for, weeks and weeks and weeks in order to get good at making videos. But like the payoff for doing that hard work is going to be massive, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like there's you got to choose what you want in life, right? Like why are you here? Are you here to kind of exist, pay taxes, you know, make sure your kids kind of go to school and get a B- average and that they grow up to sort of just be there, right? And have an average marriage and have an average life and make sure you're up to date on all the all the politics and up to date on all the world affairs and know everything about everything that's going on in everyone's life? Or like, do you have a gift to give to humanity? Because you have to like work. It's like a treasure that's buried, right? Like you've got to dig it up. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. So, um,
Yeah, when people are trying to find their purpose, I think out of all the reading and stuff I did, I could definitely help them in a direction. So your purpose here, if you look at the spirit and being harmonious with the laws of life, it's to expand, like expansion.
mhm.
Now, how do you expand? I don't know, but like if you're like, hey, listen, I was created to expand. So, like same problems in life, but as you expand, that problem becomes smaller because you're expanding. So like as long as you're expanding, forward progress, moving forward, evolving, like that is like what the universe does. Like that's what we do. So of course, I've seen a doctor, they get real good, like their practice is great, but it's not necessarily the collections they're getting. It's like it gets normal, then it gets numb, and they get burnt down. They create sabotage. So like we're always created to evolve. So that's why you have the desire to expand. You're not ungrateful. It's like you want to do ultramarathon because you know there was something more, something bigger, because that's a deep spiritual yearning is expansion. And we'll
Mhm.
always expand. So the feeling of dissatisfaction and discontent, it's a growth. It's a growth mode. Of
Yeah.
course, you're discontent and dissatisfied. That's growth. That's yearning for expansion. And so a lot of docs feel bad, but you shouldn't feel bad about that. But at the same time, you feel even worse staying the same or going backwards because it's against what your purpose of life to do is just expansion. Now, like I said, if you think of it that way, you just got to fill in the blank as to what do you want to expand on? Do you want to learn music? Do you want to become a chef? Like, I don't know what that is, but what is the expansion in your life? And that's for you to find out.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's so there's two things that makes me think of, right? Which is um the feeling of being depressed or anxious or numb. That is like that's God speaking to you, right? That you're not living on your purpose, right? And you're not on the right track. And so you need to move into what you were saying, which is expansion. And I don't know if this is going to get weird for some of our viewers, but like if you can go into the Bible, you can go into really any probably religion. I haven't studied a lot of religions, but like the principle of manliness is the principle of penetration, right? Like it's the fundamental thing about maleness or manliness is to penetrate, right? And so if you aren't penetrating into the world and actually expanding at all times, like this can be energetically, this can be in your skill sets, this can be in your influence, right? This can be in your relationships, but like there has to be this sense that I need to penetrate 1% further to by the end of today than I was when I woke up. Right? There needs to be this sense of like
Hmm.
I'm going to expand who I am, what I am, uh what my influence is, what I'm capable of, and that can be in your fitness, that can be in your relationship with God, that can be in your diet, that can be with your wife, that can be whatever it is, but like there has to be this felt sense of like I'm not just sitting here receiving what the world gives to me. The fundamental essence of being a man is to penetrate into the world and I don't want to use the word conquer it, but like it's something like that,
I
right?
think
Like
dominion is good. I think we were called for dominion, and
yeah,
that the word dominate comes from that.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. So like dominate doesn't mean you're like being an asshole to everyone, but like your set of values, the way you're going out there and
Hmm.
doing it is like you're dominating and taking ground and taking dominion from yeah, right. So if it's health, like the dominion that you need to take is that poor health of the people who need your help, right? If it's, you know, I don't know, whatever it is, right? If it's sports, like it's you've got to go take dominion and increase your skills so you can score more points or more runs or whatever it is, right? Like that's what domination is about. So I don't know, any closing thoughts here?
No, that was great, man. Always good talking to you. And
Yeah,
that's the thing.
likewise.
See, and everybody watching is like, you see how you could take two guys, and none of this is like we don't have a list of questions and stuff. We just kind of have an area where we're going to go, and it just shows you how it's just so important to just communicate and not just keep it inside you. And when you're speaking things out, it's like a third mind comes in, and you get new insight, and you get new clarity, and you're lifting each other up. Like it's tremendous. Like I'm going to write, so I do like I'm going to write a whole thing in my journal of like, what did this reveal to me today? And I'm going to write some revelations down. And the thing is, revelations are just memes. But when I write down the revelation, Rory, I'm going to put, well, what are the 3 action steps I'm going to get from that revelation? So if the revelation is like to expand or take dominion, well, how can I do that in my body, in my being, in my relationships, in my business? So when you guys get a revelation, it doesn't stick until there's an action behind it. So it's like that full circle to action,
Yeah.
but you want to take the right action. So like
Yeah.
I just appreciate you, and like any revelation you guys got or because every time I would speak, people were like, oh, it what you said moved me so much. And I used to say this, Rory, what was it? And they would say something, Rory, I never said
Yeah.
because they heard what they needed to hear. They got a revelation or a rhema word. That's my daughter's name, Rhema. And from that rhema word, what is the action I need to take? For some of it's break up with that relationship, move across the state, whatever it is. So it's like you don't realize that when you hear these things, we all hear it differently for what we need to do and how we need to move.
Yep. Yeah. So just to give people something practical, right? And you mentioned this is like it's like there's this third brain, right? Like for anyone out there, like that's the logos, right? And that's when people are communicating like this, when you're being real with someone across from you being real, like that's the logos is the word, right? Which is what Jesus is in the Greek, right? And it's this underlying principle of kind of the force that governs everything, right? And there's something very real about that, right? So like you said you're going to go down and write things down and write down revelation. And so like I think what people should do if they're listening to this is just to give you guys some practical ideas is like, okay, like what is the feeling that I feel and what specifically can I do about it, right? Is it anxious? Is it depressed? Is it bored? Well, what's one thing I can do today to take an action so that I can start to get more clarity, right? Do I, like think through what is it that you're feeling, right? I know another one that I hear a lot is like, oh no, I already know everything, right? Like I already know how to build a business. I already know how to do this, right? And that's pride, right? I've already got it all figured out. I just need some patience, right? Well, okay. The most important part of a business is that it has customers, and for a clinic, that means patience. So, like, do you really already know everything? Do you already know how to do it, or yeah, like it's the most fundamental part of a business, and you don't have it. So how can you make that claim, right? So like, what's one thing you can do today? What action can you do today to figure out how to get patients, right? And the answer to that is not, oh, yeah, I'll just go hire the cheapest marketing company I can find, right? Like hiring someone is not going to give you clarity, right? You've got to get clear on where, why have I been stuck for so long? Why do I feel this negative feeling every day, right? Are you expanding? So yeah, I mean, I think we can wrap it up there, but
I do.
anywhere you want to point anyone?
Oh no, it's great, man. I'm good. I
Okay.
mean, like really, like like yeah, we're good. I wouldn't want to pour any more paint on this. This is great.
Yeah. Anything, social media, website, anything like that?
Oh, you always connect with me on Instagram at Dr. Zaino. And then we have a really amazing things for any practice owners called clinicsuperpower.com, where like we do all the work for you. So if you're interested, just check out Clinic Superpower, look at it, digest it, and then connect with us if you like what you see. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll probably do an episode in the future where we kind of
Yeah.
break that down. Yeah, but bottom line is like, you know, world class video marketing. You know, Dr. Zaino's doing that for you. So, yeah, let's wrap it up there. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate
Thanks so
it,
much, Roy.
and we'll chat again soon.
Bye, bud. Thanks so much, guys.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Super Clinic Project podcast. If you like what you hear, subscribe and stay tuned for further episodes of the Super Clinic Project podcast.